All right.
All
Oh, we
right.
got 30 more seconds.
Yeah.
It's the final countdown. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do.
And we'll have a blast.
Right.
Well, there was plenty of confetti the last few days, that's for sure.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. I don't know about you, Jay. I'm about ready for this year to end.
Yes. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the blast from the past. And boy, did we have a blast. And don't even talk about the past because we tried to get out of it.
It was the blast of the current. And Hills is like,
Yeah,
oh, God.
It's like, let's get out of this as quickly as possible.
Like,
Okay.
in this now.
That we're in it now. Yes. There's no turning back. That's for sure.
Nah, that is definitely for sure. How you doing, Jay?
Oh, I'm feeling so much better from last week. It was just such a sudden onslaught of the flu or COVID or whatever that was, but it certainly struck me down like nothing has for the last 5 years. So
Yeah, so welcome back, everybody. So in case you missed it, we had to take a quick detour last week. We had some life things that were happening. Jay was sick. I was going through my own situation. So we decided, you know what, we will pick it up and try again this week. And that's where we're at. So we are back. Thank you for hanging out with us. And we're ready to get this show on the road. We are brought to you by Astromegistus.com. Do you want to talk about that, Jay, or you want me to talk about it?
Actually, either way, it's like I was just thinking while you were talking, and I sometimes do that actually. And you're saying, let's get that show on the road. I'm like, what, are we a road show now?
I mean, potentially. We have to make this a road show.
Yeah, let's make it a road show or a roast show, I mean,
it could be both.
Absolutely. We're going to roast as much as we can, right? Maybe we're going to get some heat into the whole situation. And it's just, before we flatline out here. No, seriously, though, I do have one chart up, and I'm not 100% sure. Latricia, do we want to start with that chart, the event chart right now?
Yeah, let's start with the event chart, just to talk about kind of like what's going on not with us, but just kind of like within the skies, and then we'll get into our main subject, because we're going to pick up from what we did not last week, but the week before, where we were talking about the US and how Saturn influences that, and we're going to get into another country. But at first, let's check on the sky report for the quick second. So in case anybody is wondering, we are about to hit a new moon. And that new moon will be in Scorpio. So if you look at the chart, you can see that we got a cluster of planets sitting in the 8th house right now. If you're looking at houses, so many of them are in Scorpio. We got 2 planets, Mars and Mercury, that are in Sagittarius. A fair amount of that is making a trine to our Neptune and Saturn, which are both retrograde in Pisces. And then we also have our Sun and Lilith, which is making an opposition to retrograde Uranus in Taurus. We actually got a lot of planets in retrograde right now, don't we?
We actually do. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's anything negative if we have a retrograde. Sometimes it's good to revise and revisit things, and as a matter of fact, while I was going through the darkest night of the dark night of the soul last week with I don't know how many revisions, I do look at it like coming out in the end, maybe a few months delayed, but probably in a better spot than I would have been without it. So, was it pleasant? Is it pleasant? Nah, not necessarily. I mean, we can filter in a little bit of information about what's generally going on with the business, of course, during the lesson, which actually also is part of this. How would you want to call this? This menage here that we're looking at. It's a very interesting chart to talk about, actually, considering that this is our moment, this moment, and interesting as it is, we do have this Saturn Neptune conjunction right now on the ascendant,
Yeah.
makes you wonder. We talk about what we had to dissolve and what we have to restructure, right? And this is kind of like what's going on. And we're doing this with a topic that could be partially, of course, Uranian, but also to a degree Piscean, because of course astrology does utilize all forms of vision and envisioning, of course, tapping into the greater either, if you want, maybe the Akashic Records sometimes when you're chanting a little bit while you're doing the readings. No,
Well,
don't get
hold
me
on.
wrong. I mean,
Hold on,
the
because I don't
astrology
think
is
everybody
based.
knows what an Akashic reading is. Can you go
Well,
a little
maybe
more on that?
you know what. I leave that to you. You can, if you want, you can delve right into that. I just want to finish
I don't
this.
even know if I have a good explanation of it. I've never had to do it. My understanding is that somebody is channeling a thing that has like all the answers to everything. That's about as much as I know about the
Well,
Akashic records.
I guess to a degree. I mean, it would have the answers to everything. Well, I mean, if we go a little bit deeper into that, the Akashic Records is basically the universe, and everything that ever happened or will ever happen would be. In other words, in the material universe, we live through time, and we have a kind of like a linear understanding of time. But time, in the sense of this philosophy, is really just an illusion. Time in itself really doesn't exist. It exists for us in the three-dimensional world, but in the actual universe, it does not exist. Everything is at the same time. So
Right.
everything exists at the same time. And the Akashic Records is basically, records is a little bit misleading because it would mean it is recording what's happening or has been happening,
Right.
but it all exists at the same time. So if you want, the recording is the existence of itself. And people supposedly that can tune into the Akashic Records can tune into somebody's, if you want, life history, like the soul's life history, as it is in the ether. In other words, all lives together, right? And can take a look at where you are, what you're doing, etc., etc. So that would be that. But then again, sometimes I think we do that on a non-aware level, but there are a few people that supposedly, I'm not one of them, so I can't say that it works or doesn't work, but there are some people that supposedly can. And of course, Edgar Cayce would be one of them, one of the most famous people, the American prophet, Edgar Cayce. You know about him, right?
I do. Like, I don't think a lot of people talk enough about Edgar Cayce, especially now.
Yeah.
Because I know his stuff used to be really big when I was a kid. Like, and it was crazy because one of the few things I remember about Edgar Cayce, I think that it was like some unsolved mystery thing. And they were talking about how, or he was talking about, and anybody who follows Edgar Cayce, y'all would probably have to correct me on it because I saw this like years ago. But they were saying like the Black president we have will be the last president.
I don't know about that one. I mean, I do.
Yeah, and so like it was years and years and years ago, but that's like one of the only things I remember about Edgar Cayce. But I do know he did like a lot of prophesizing.
And you have to keep in mind that I'm like 15 years ahead of you. So
yeah,
when you were the kid, I was actually the young man in California going through all the like different bookstores. By the way, people, the Bodhi Tree was the best bookstore ever. I so miss that place. But I'm seriously, I mean, I don't understand why they put, sold it and closed it down. But the Bodhi Tree was like the place. It was next to a coffee, a bar kind of situation. And it was just amazing. And you could buy used and new books. And it was, I mean, really, really good material that you would not get anywhere else. Anyways, so that was the Bodhi Tree. And there I would probably roam through everything they had on Edgar Cayce, and I do have all those books. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's a book out there that I do not have in the bookshelf here.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen yet? You haven't seen nothing yet, but
I mean, I just got on this project, so I can't say much.
Yeah, but back to this little thingy here. I mean, not only do we have a new moon, as you rightfully pointed out, but this new moon is going to fall into a Cassini situation with Mercury. And Cassini, by the way, people, means that Mercury in its retrograde motion is actually always passing over the sun. And Cassini means that it's within a few minutes of the exact conjunction. And that typically is really the new beginning and is a more, well, they don't necessarily call it a fortunate moment, but it's not like usually when you're too close to the sun, they call it combust because
Yeah,
then the
you're
planet
getting
has
burnt up by whatever the sun
exactly.
is trying to present to you.
Exactly, it's kind of burned up, but then when you're in the Cassini point, that's actually a positive thing. But so that is basically coming together when you look at it, and at that point when we have the new moon, I think I'm not 100% sure, and I don't have the software up right now, but I think at that point Mercury will have retrograded into the last degree of Scorpio actually, so it will
Hmm.
be more or less on 29 degrees Scorpio. I think so. But I'm not 100% sure. If you want to look it up real quick, if you have the software up and do
Let
the
me see.
clock
I can
thingy,
probably check that out real quick.
yeah, do the
Give
clock
me
thingy.
one
That should
second.
be quick.
So we are. Let's put this into
And I would like,
this.
and the reason why I'm a little bit of a stickler on this right now is because we do have also Uranus at 29-degree Taurus retrograde. So this would be an exact, but literally to the degree exact opposition between this new moon and Uranus. And Uranus is back in Taurus. So we're dealing again with something, most likely something new happening in opposition though to the Uranus. So that usually is somewhat of like a short fuse situation where we might be very surprised about what's going on, and nobody knows exactly what it is because that's Uranus. You never know. It's kind of like the box of chocolates, that um what was his face is still
Forrest Gump.
munching on. Yeah, Forrest Gump is still looking for that for that box of chocolate. So yeah, that's kind of like what we're in right now, and that's why I think it would be really nice to know. Um,
So when the moon and the sun, I'm still trying to get it to the same degree. Give me one second.
yeah, when you do
Mhm.
using
There we
Solar
go.
Fire software, then
Yeah, I found it.
okay,
So when the moon and the sun are at the same degree, Mercury will be around 28 degrees in retrograde. So it'll be the sun,
okay,
moon, and Mercury are all in 28 degrees.
okay. Well, that's almost, considering that Uranus also is retrograde, that basically is an exact opposition, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Uranus will still be at 29 degrees. Those three will be at 28 degrees. And yeah, they'll be at a nice little tight um, opposition,
Yeah.
which should be
So, I
interesting in
mean,
itself.
yeah, Latricia, what do you think could blow up in every? I mean, let's stop the
Oh,
Astro mumbo jumbo for a moment. What might blow up in everybody's face with a new moon opposite Uranus? What
oh
could we
man, I
expect?
think it's going to be. If I had to guess, because it's a new moon, that means that we're in a new theme. So this
Hmm.
could be something in terms of Uranus is in Taurus, so it could be something having to do with our resources. It could be something that has to do with our money. It could be something like, the stock market right now is, taking a little tumble. So we could hear some news about that coming
Yep,
up, especially
absolutely.
because the sun is in the eighth house. That's other people resources, other people
Yeah,
money, debts,
yeah,
taxes, things
yeah.
like that. And there's also going to be a lot of conversation around it because Mercury's in Sagittarius. So there's going to be
I
different
mean,
aspects. I think people are going to change kind of like their thought process on a lot of it too.
something else that just occurs to me with Lilith part of this, and
Hmm.
again, people, just to make clear on Lilith, yes, most astrologers still today do not really integrate Lilith that much, but
Yeah.
she does present an element of wild, untamed energy, talking the truth, spilling the tea. So she's very welcome in this cafe Z here because we're spilling your tea, right? And
Yeah.
um, she's very much part and parcel of this new moon, right? I mean, she's right there.
It's right there. So it's like whatever is about to get shown, there's probably going to be some controversy behind it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't have controversy these days,
Yeah,
but
that.
but yes. I mean, again, talking about. I mean, obviously, this is the very moment right now. What the chart that we're looking at for the United States. So this is not a personal whatnot, but when you're looking at the new moon chart, you would definitely want to place that new moon in your natal chart and see where it falls.
Mhm.
So I don't know about you, Latricia, but for me, this new moon will fall straight across the 12th house and the sixth house. So Uranus is in the sixth house for me. So I have and boy, did I already have some explosions going on in my work life. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Mine
all
is I think
yeah.
this stellium for me is in my second house with Uranus in my eighth.
Okay, so you're saying that the 28, 29 degrees Scorpio would be your second house.
Mm-hmm. It would be
Well,
like part of it would be in my first house, and the rest would go into my second house.
I'd be damned if I say something strange and unexpected would happen with your money situation.
Man, right? Right?
I mean, not that I would know any, but it's just like falling into. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Some new moon falling in somebody's house system is going to stir whatever is going on in that house. And if you have
Man,
it in the second house,
listen.
hey, you can expect it some Uranian. Hey, hello, here I am, unexpected.
Be like, hey, hello, hi. I'm just gonna kick your sandcastle over, rebuild it yourself. I'm out.
Yep. I mean, sometimes it's not even funny. It's kind of like for me, this new moon. I mean, we're not in the new moon yet, but somehow it is already throwing its shadow all over the place, right? So, I mean, maybe it's related to this retrograde movement of Mercury that has been already going on for a week, but a little bit longer than a week, actually, 10 days now.
Yeah.
But I mean, as soon as that started kicking in, boy, did it kick in. I mean,
man,
and it keeps kicking. It's like this gift that never stops giving. So
came out swinging. I was just like, bruh, all of this. So, for reference for the masses, I had a money situation where I was doing a job, an online job, and then right when I was supposed to get paid, the online job decided that I wasn't authorized to work. So they decided they weren't going to pay me. So I'm trying to contest that. And I hope it's some Mercury BS. And that once, the retrograde is over, then they'll be like, okay, JK, here's your money.
I was going to say, please, people, no, not Astromegistus. We're not
Astromegistus. No, definitely not Astromegistus. This is a whole different situation.
But since we're talking about that too, talking about what has befallen us lately, so I don't know if there are not that many live listeners as it is, but for posterity, yes. So the website is kind of like in limbo right now. It's not going anywhere, and we need to figure out what's happening with it. And then out of that situation, we had to do some other organizational rearrangement and everything. It all happens behind the scenes, like I said, in my 12th house. Where else could it happen, right?
Yeah.
This is where we're going to face this new moon, in my opinion, in my situation. But I mean, that is the two of us. Let's not be selfish. Let's go around. What do you think would happen with somebody who has this new moon, let's say, in the 7th house?
Ooh, they had this. Oh God, I feel bad for anybody that has this in the 7th house, because that definitely means they may be letting go of some friends right now, or might be in contention with a couple of them, especially because that other person, especially if they're represented by that Lilith, that could be a person who, because they're right close to you, you think they're your friend, but they may not actually be your friend or your partner, depending on, who the other person is in the 7th house. I guess if we were going to do significators, that would probably be whoever is represented by Mercury. Do you think?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, at the same time, in particular, when we talk about the stellium being in the 7th house, then obviously Uranus would be the 1st house. I could see that the individual in this case is getting, the itch. I don't know if it's the 7-year itch or whatever itch it is, but it could be the itch. And says, you know what, I want to be a little bit more independent. I feel like doing something outside the parameters that I'm playing in usually. Yeah. And that could then in one way or another come out, particularly with Lilith part of this story. I don't think she will be very happy about that, no matter if it's male or female. So the partner might be a little bit, let's say, explosive. And it could be an interesting development from that. So
and then again, because Lilith is also in Scorpio, that's not something they're going to get over right away.
Oh, no, 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 no. Mm-mm. I mean,
Like the
if one sign holds on to something, it's the water signs, and in
yeah,
particular, Scorpio likes to hold on to
yes.
stuff.
Scorpio was Mars on the night shift. They do not let go of stuff
Mhm.
very easily.
Yeah. So think twice before you do something with your partner. It might not be a good thing to do. Speaking of which, when we look at the Simply chart,
Hmm.
and we look at this our chart right now, the event chart. I mean, obviously we don't know at what time it falls, but we do know now that the that this new moon is going to fall into the US's 12th house as well,
Yep.
with the 6th house being that Uranus, that wayward sun.
Mm.
So something's rattling with the resources in the 6th house. And what is the, when we talk about now, people just bear with us because we're kind of like switching back and forth between the individual, the personal, and also what is called the mundane, which is, what happens in the country or what happens with a business or something like that. So,
So
trying
think
to
microscopic versus macroscopic.
exactly think like that. And so when we're looking at Uranus in the 6th house of the US chart, that obviously deals with people don't know what hits them left or right. That is the common
Hmm.
people, right? The 6th house. So
Yep.
what do we see?
So the common people be in the sixth house, and if this stellium is falling in the 12th, honestly, it could be a lot of news, a lot of different kind of news that's coming out of the woodwork, especially because the sun is right there. So definitely the highlight, because they started releasing some of the Epstein's files last week.
Could
So
be
there
Epstein
was that.
files.
Yeah, so they had that whole situation going on with
But actually, it's this is a smart one that you're bringing up. I didn't think of that, but from a different angle,
hmm.
because we do have um, Mercury involved. Mercury is
Hmm.
in the Cassini moment, right? And
Yep.
Mercury would be the media of a country, and that being in Scorpio, it is digging out some stuff. And in the Sibley chart, in the US's natal chart, we do have a Mercury Pluto opposition. So
Hmm.
researching and finding things out and all that actually would be part of the genes of the country, right? So
Yeah.
so this kind of like plays into the fact that maybe, as you say, maybe this will, and also with the moon of course is the people, the general public, right? So it seems that there is stuff coming out. I don't know, that at the moment it's still in the background because it would be the 12th house, but as a new moon, something is festering, something is building and growing in the unseen back chambers of whatever is
Yeah.
happening here. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Should be
and
interesting.
well, I mean, definitely interesting. I'm always a little bit skeptical of what's going on because when I look at the sun being the ruler of the 9th house and the moon ruler of the 8th house of the Sibley chart,
Hmm.
then it also of course the 9th house is foreign and the 8th house are resources. So are we going to deal with the fact that we're going to be cut off the foreign resources that we need to fire up
Mm.
our industry and our consumption and everything? Are we
That's
going to
interesting.
like the consumption, like the consumer goods that we need? Because again, the 6th house is your daily needs, it's your
Hmm.
daily workers, it's your everything. And of course, with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus, Taurus is the earthenmost, the agricultural most sign of them all.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Something, like I said, something seems to be brewing here.
I mean, there's that. We here in the U.S. are going into we are technically in our holiday season, but we're going deep into the holiday season. So next week is
Hmm.
Thanksgiving for us, and there had been a lot of talk on social media about boycotting Black Friday, which is one of the biggest sales day here in the U.S. Because of the current social political situation. There is, uh, like we were saying before, with everybody having issues being able to acquire food. So there's a lot of people helping out at food banks and asking for donations and things of that interest. So that could also be a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes. because nobody's really talking about them just yet. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, very much so. And by the way, our friend from the East Coast, Ursula, was
Hey,
making,
it's
yes,
Ursula.
Ursula. So she's making a comment. She says, "Hey, the stellium is in her seventh house, and I'm happy to be letting go of some people, utilizing the clearing out for good." Yeah, I think
Mm.
that definitely. Thank you for that supporting comment, Ursula. I totally agree with that. Yep. So that's why I'm saying, sometimes you're looking at it and go like, it doesn't look like fun times, but sometimes
Yeah.
you don't need fun times. Sometimes you need really a cleaning out and a
You gotta have
reorganization of
that
things.
nice good old tower moment where it just kicks
Exactly.
the sand castle down and you cry over it and you're like, okay, let me go get my cup and my little bucket and start building my sand castle all over again.
Yep. By the way, a nice little side digression here. Do you want to talk real quick about your experience with that, with the tarot?
Well, with the tarot, yeah. So before I became a astrologer, I started as a tarot reader. So let's talk about it real quick, especially when it comes to the tower. So a lot of people like to consider the tower. Like there's been kind of like a I don't want to say debate, but kind of like a discourse. Some people say the tower is a Uranian moment. Some people see it as a Plutonian moment. I see it more as a Plutonian moment because it's heavy transformation. Like the death card is the card where yes, you're transforming, but you know it's coming. You know you can't change it. The tower, you don't know it's coming. You don't know when, you don't know why, you don't know how. You just know when it hits, it hits. And how you react to that tower moment is what's going to guide you through the rest of that tower movement. You know what I'm saying? So, like, say for my example with my current situation is like, yes, it sucks. Now I have to kind of rearrange and reallocate money to pay bills that I have due this week. But that also means that how I handle that tower moment is going to affect everything that comes after that tower moment for the tarot. Usually with Uranian moments in the tarot, at least for me and how I learn, would be through the Fool. The Fool is like your new journeys. They can be unexpected, but you're coming out of a moment of kind of like I want to say darkness, but like rest. It's like a rebirth, like a literal rebirth is the Fool because you're starting a new journey, if that makes sense.
What planetary or sign relationship does the Fool have?
Uranus.
Uranus. Okay.
Hmm. Some people say Mercury, but I've learned it as as a Uranian moment.
Well, I mean, I don't know how far you've dug into the astrology philosophy and all that, but they say
Mm.
that Mercury is the lower octave
With
of
Uranus,
Uranus, and
yeah,
Venus the lower octave of Neptune, and Mars the lower octave of Pluto.
of
So,
Pluto.
yeah, so in that sense, that might make sense what you're just saying.
Yeah,
So there could be an element of mercurial trickery and all that in it, but in the end, it is more of a matured Uranian kind of
yeah.
situation. Yeah.
The biggest thing with like cards like that, which are part of the major arcana, is not that they're there, is how you handle them.
Hmm.
Because those are the moments you can't stop, unfortunately.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So, how do we transition back now? Do we want to go into the US birth chart, or what do you
Yeah,
want
let's
to
go
take a
back to
look
the
at?
US birth chart because we got some things to talk about. So we talked about our how Saturn is in the birth chart of the US. So we know that Saturn, I think, in the original natal chart of the US falls in what was it the second house or the sixth house?
Um,
I can't remember.
the natal Saturn,
Yes, for the US.
that is in the 10th house.
10th house. Okay, I was totally off. That's all right though. So we know that our natal Saturn being in Libra
Hmm.
falls there. And uh, if you have been rocking with us since we started our little project here, is that when we were talking about Saturn, we were talking about how it can also show how you react to other people depending on where their Saturn is. So like we use the example of Joan, was it Joan Crawford?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joan Crawford and her daughter, because they were when Joan Crawford adopted her daughter, they were pretty much in a Saturn opposition, I believe.
Yep. Hmm.
So we were wondering. So we're like, okay, what other country would be kind of like us and that has been around longer? And then why not look at the people that gave birth to the US, and that would be the English court, right? So we decided to pull up the chart for England, and we
You
wanted
want me
to
to do that
compare.
now?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll bring up that chart. So we wanted to compare where the Saturns are and how does that look, especially in the relationship of the two countries. So while Jay's bringing that up, and nope, that's not the
Chase,
one.
Chase, that's not the one. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chase, looking where it is. My bad.
there it
That's one.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this one. So most people might have seen the England birth chart or the birth chart of the UK, which is in what 18 something or other, 1801. There we go. This one
1801,
is
yes.
this one is for the chart of England, when with the coronation of, what is it, William the
Yeah,
Conqueror.
William the Conqueror.
Yes. So this one is dated December 25th, 1066. So that is a very long time, like almost 700 years before the US was even considered. Still a twinkle in his daddy's eye, as they say.
Hmm.
And excuse me, looking at, oh, funny enough, they actually have Saturns in the same house. Excuse me. The English birth chart has their Saturn
In Virgo.
in Virgo,
6. Mm.
sixth house, and then according to the Bible, the U.S. has its Saturn in also in the sixth house, but in Libra. So just a sign apart. Both having to deal with the everyday person, I would say, in terms of like
Hardworking.
hardworking. But with Virgo, they tend to be a little more. All right, let me take a swig of water real quick. I'm about to lose my throat. But I think with the Saturn here, that Virgo is more of, I don't want to say like pretenses, but it has a little more perfection aspect to it. Like it does very hard to have like a certain I don't want to say persona, but very very much of analytical on the analytical side.
Well, I mean, what I see when I'm looking at that also is the UK chart has Saturn actually as the place to develop to, right? It is
Mm,
conjunct the North Node.
yeah,
Quite not. I mean, it's not tight, but it's
it's close. It's like 4 degrees
yeah,
away.
yeah. It is. It's in a good. It's a good. So definitely noticeable. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
So of course, now the next question that might be asked is like, what exactly would that be? And when we take a look at Saturn, Saturn tries to be what? The statesman, right? He wants to be the
Hmm.
responsible builder of things. So, and then usually what we would do is we look at, how to get a better grasp on the energies that are going on. At least that's how I do it. I'm
Hmm.
going to look at Virgo as the sign in which we're dealing. So it is the sixth house. Okay. So we're dealing with everything is supposed to be very exact, very well done, very service oriented also. Um, and one of the things that kind of get forgotten with Virgo is Virgo likes things small. I know this sounds
Oh,
funny, but it is true. Yes.
that I would not have considered.
Yes, it likes things actually small. And
Hmm.
I know a friend, a personal friend. She is born with a Virgo rising and Saturn in Virgo on the rising, and she is a petite, small person, but very willful. Okay,
Huh.
yeah. So, and everything that she does, she loves to like cut every like fruit small. She likes to do like literally. It's like everything miniature is
Right.
lovely. And as a matter of fact, and this is a challenge to the public, and you guys can absolutely over the years that are to come, do your own research, leave your comments in our comment box here, but look up Switzerland.
Hmm.
Switzerland has an extremely strong Virgo energy, And what is, I mean, maybe Americans are not so familiar with Switzerland in general, but when you think of what do you know about the Swiss, precise
Watches.
precise tools like the clocks that are
Hmm.
in your pocket, right? The pocket
Yeah, the pocket
watches,
watches
and that
and,
is
and
all
like
very small,
Swiss Army
minute,
knives.
as the Swiss Army knives. It's all minute, like little gears and things that need to work together. The Swiss are very exact on everything and very
Huh.
almost like, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but very peculiar. Like if you want to experience what Virgo feels like, go to Switzerland. That's basically the Swiss, because they
Huh.
have been around for hundreds of years as well. That is like culture in Virgo. It really
Just
is true.
very
Everything is like
precise. Just
very
like this is
precise,
how it is.
neat,
This is how
exactly
we've always done
neat,
it. This is how it's going to be.
meek, timid, meek, exactly, humiliated all the time, not being very loud, but also very much meticulous in how you organize everything. I mean, literally, again, it's a challenge to the
Huh.
rest of the world. Look up the Swiss national chart, and you go like, oh yeah, that is a lot of Virgo.
Okay. Okay. Bet. I
So
like that.
yes, so the question, of course, then is okay, where do I want to go with this, with my common people? So I'm having the common people basically, um the way I organize my country in a very peculiar way. And then again, if you think of England, just like
Hmm.
in a general sense, hobbits, okay, we think of
Yeah.
Harry Potter, we think of all these like peculiar, small, detailed little like cottages, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it does fit the bill. What I find interesting also, by the way, is that when we think of England, this chart is the chart of a conqueror, right? And then
Hmm.
the birth chart of the US then again is kind of like it was established through conquering, again being colonies, right?
Yeah.
And then through the establishment of, we want to be our own country, so through conquering additional land, there was enough land mass and enough people to actually be a new country, right? I mean, a little
Hmm.
tiny speck will not have had the success, but adding all these additional states in, and so on, then the colonies could come together and be the United States and defeat the British. So, and this idea, this conquering idea, actually continues even today.
Hmm.
There's always this aspect of conquering something, some either new space, a new planet, a new country, conquering for resources, conquering this. The conquering idea, talking about the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
The conquering idea is still within this like English Anglo-Saxon sort of setup.
Yeah. This
Um,
kind of Western world setup was
yeah,
like
yeah.
we don't function if we're not taking over something.
But it's not so much the Western world, other than the Western world being led by the US for the last 60, 70, maybe even 100 years. Because
Yeah.
many of the other Western countries, because Western Europe is considered part of that, they don't have this conquering gene. There's no
Mm.
one else running. Well, maybe the French to a degree,
Yeah.
but the rest hasn't been running around for the longest time trying to conquer anything. Mm-mm.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's a very interesting aspect looking at that. So I leave the stage back to you. By the way, when we look at the chart of 1066 and we have the 22-degree Aries rising, we
Yep.
do have, by the way, the Capricorn is the MC. So that's why also
Mhm.
why this Saturn conjunct the North Node is so important in what is the goal setting of the UK, right? So
Oh.
just keep that in mind. So conquering and expanding your resources, your daily works and everything else has been part of the fabric.
Yeah, because in this case, Saturn rules the 10th, 11th, and the 12th house.
Yep.
Uh, with the sun sitting right on the midheaven, which is actually really interesting in itself because it's like, what is, if nothing else, what is England about? It's about ambition. Is out about that ambition and also expanding territories,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yep.
is in this case would be the fourth house. Um, because I can't see what all is at the bottom because of this thing, but that's okay. So we got what? The part of fortune, Mercury, and what is that other planet? I can't see it. Thank you, the sun. Okay, that's the sun for the US. Gotcha. But England has the part of fortune and Lilith in their fourth house, which is interesting in itself, because it's like, okay, we are going to change our lands and we're going to, like, you know, in a sense, almost appear like they care. But it's like, do you care about your own place or do you care about everybody else? At least for me.
You have to actually, again, you spotted something that is really valuable. And we go back to the fact what I said earlier. A lot of people don't pay attention to Lilith. But when you take Lilith as the untamed wild nature that doesn't shy away from taboos and everything else, what did England do in the last, since it's, I mean, again, it started with conquering. What did the what did the Normans then do? They conquered first the Anglo-Saxons, then they conquered Wales, then they conquered into Scotland, then they colonized and conquered Ireland, right? I mean, people forget that those were, I mean, the Irish were the first colony of the British, or of the English. So, and they certainly had to suffer quite a big deal under that. So it was always going against the nature of the wild, you know. Then you continue again in the U.S. and no nation, not the Portuguese, not the Spanish, nor the French, were so like busy in killing of the natives, you know, as the British were.
You want to get something knocked over quick.
So it's kind of like, and then you have the sun exact opposite to Lilith. So it's the statehood, it's the self-understanding of the British Empire, if you like, and it looks at the Lilith, the savage, the wild, as non-worthy.
For anybody who's taking score real quick, we're looking at the inside of the wheel, just in case anybody's getting confused. We're looking at the inside of the wheel.
We're looking at the inside of the wheel right now. We're not looking at the outside. We're looking at the British. The English map is the internal, the greenish kind of ring, and we do have on the top, we do have the Capricorn MC with the Sun in 9-degree Capricorn conjunct, of kind of like a white conjunction to the Mercury, but then opposite on the other end, and that of course is the IC. Those are the lands. The IC is also the land, right? The lands of the natives, the lands of the wild people. Now we take a look at the Aboriginals in Australia. We look at the natives in North America. We look at the islanders of the South Pacific, and so on. You know, wherever the British went, they went after the land. Yeah, they always went after the land of the natives and just assumed it for themselves, right?
Yep.
So isn't it amazing?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the U.S. and England when it comes to just like the general nature. They both got literally fire sign ascendants.
Well, yeah, and look at the fact that you do have the British Sun Mercury conjunction on the British MC in opposition to the Sun Jupiter, and Jupiter is the ruling planet, the chart ruler for the US, because it's a Sagittarius rising. So again, you know, here is like this conflict between the US and its self-understanding and its rule and rulership and all that, versus the British. I mean, there's a direct opposition.
So very interesting when we look at it. And we, like we talked about before with their Saturns are kind of almost a little bit similar but different, because they're in the same house, but they're in different signs. One is just a little more meticulous. The other one is, when it tries to, for the US, with it being in Libra, it's more of trying to find that equality in the structure and the rules. Like when the US was created, in theory, it was supposed to be by the people, for the people, versus how with the UK, the general rulership was more of from a top down type of perspective. Feel like you're thinking hard, Jay.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, because we're looking at the apple not falling far from the stem. I would be curious to see, in as much the the transfer happens between one and the other, because we talk about, for example, judicial system, the
Mhm.
common law system was pretty much taken over. The only state that does not have common law is Louisiana.
Yeah,
Um, that took the Code Napoleon. Of course, it was originally a
French
French colony.
colony.
So, but other than that, I mean, the culture and traditions of Britain, and I mean, I think one of the things that the Civil War did was it did away with the class system, didn't it?
Supposedly, it's one of those things like we say that it's gone, but it's still kind of there. It's just unofficially there.
Hmm. Just kind of like hidden, you mean?
Yeah.
Hmm. So I'm trying to find um, like direct connections of the transfer of the customs and behaviorals and things like that you could see going from one to another. And I'm wondering if that is this opposition between the two suns, if it is Saturn being in the sixth house, in either case. I mean, obviously, then in the if you turn the houses around, then the British Saturn in 16-degree Virgo would be in the ninth house of
Hmm.
the US chart.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Hmm.
sure about that. Also about the North Node, the British North Node falling onto the Neptune MC conjunction. I'm
Hmm.
wondering about that. Was it kind of like that this is something that the U.S. was streaming? I mean, the British, the UK was streaming about and manifested.
Well, I think that was the U.S. was because the U. Oh wait, yeah, the U.S. is the outer chart. So
Yeah,
maybe the U.S. was dreaming about it, but it didn't come out the way that it was intended because, again,
yeah.
not too far behind is that Lilith, darling Lilith. Uh,
Hmm.
I think there was a dream, and the goal was set for that dream. I think to some degree the U.S. is still trying to reach that dream, but there's going to be a lot of scandal that comes with trying to make something that magnanimous occur. Like,
Hmm.
I know the U.S. is without a doubt, even though we claim to be one of the greatest countries out there, has not been without its due of scandal and controversy.
No, absolutely. Yes.
So it's a lot of things to kind of pull out this chart very meticulously. And I think in terms of like how we were looking at how their Saturns may interact because they're in different signs, that could be in a way that then they're also right in signs next to each other. It'd be different like if uh one of the Saturn, well, we'll say like the US Saturn was in like Scorpio, so then it will have a little bit of distance between it to,
Hmm.
well, not really Scorpio, probably like Sagittarius, and there will be some kind of like sextile or something, some kind of positive aspect to kind of connect them. But now they're kind of like adverse. They don't really see each other well. So maybe the mindset behind the two countries is a little bit different. It's not to the point where it would be like super challenging, like if this was a square or an opposition, but you can definitely see with the two planets being a sign apart that there are clear differences between the two in terms of mindset and how they achieve their goals.
That is part of it, and also one thing that when you look at it strikes me, at least at the moment, is that while the UK has the Saturn Sun trine, the US has the Saturn Sun square.
Hmm.
So so it seems that and we always have to keep in mind that in a country chart, the Sun really is the leader
Hmm.
of the country, right? Not
Yeah.
the parliament, not I don't know, any other person. I mean, basically like the king and
Yeah.
or the president or something like that, or the chancellor, or you name it. So while the in this case the king would be supported in the UK chart, the king would be supported by the, well, I guess system, because also Jupiter is in trine with the sun. for the UK chart. So here we seem to have a lot of support from the general public, from the people, from the judicial system, from the security system, etc., etc. So that is supportive.
Okay.
Whereas the US actually has the opposite. The square is usually constantly having to deal with the critical oversight, right? So the checks and balances, basically. And this is, in my opinion, that is what it is, because Saturn in the US chart is actually exalted. It is in Libra.
That's right. It is exalted in Libra. I forgot about that.
So here, to me, that is the Saturn in the 10th house says, hello, we're going to have checks and balances on you. You know,
the sun's like, and gets all emotional because it's in Cancer.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to get away with an overinflated ego, because here we go with the Saturn Jupiter conjunction. I mean, with the Sun Jupiter conjunction in the US chart, right?
Yeah.
So the leadership, the king of the country, can quickly get a little bit an inflated ego.
I can see that.
Well, I mean, rarely. I mean, a Nixon, come on, or a Reagan? No, never.
Never. Who would do that? Oh my God.
I don't know what you're dreaming. And it's like, please stay underground, be real. Yeah. Watergate somebody? No.
Pizzagate, you mean?
Well, that was two, but Watergate was Nixon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So much.
Yeah, we're gating around, right? So here, Saturn is the gatekeeper. Yeah. I mean, you look at the chart and go like, well, wait a minute. To a degree, that's true. You do have the checks and balances. And I mean, who else would do checks and balances other than Saturn? Yes, of course, we say that the media is bringing, again, we have this deep digging media, which is the Mercury in Cancer, opposite the Pluto in Capricorn situation.
Yeah.
But in the end, I guess that feeds somehow into this. I mean, obviously, the information that you pull out, the media is not going directly against the leader or the king of the country. It is usually the authorities, right?
Yeah, and in this case, the media would also be pulling at the heartstrings of the people, because I don't want to say it's going to be more like propaganda-ish, but it's definitely going to, the news that comes out is going to be enough to pretty much make anybody want to get up and punch the air, if nothing else. And some of that, a lot of that could be dealing around, the household and the home.
Absolutely.
In this case, which would be, our land. So.
Having spoken of all of this, we do only have about 7 minutes left. We have two other charts that you have prepared, I should say. Is there anything else that you would want to take a look at, and maybe bring it back a little bit more into the personal, non-astrological, but kind of like with the astrological?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, because I think the other charts we had were one was the English birth chart, which, I mean, we could have probably looked at that by itself, which we already talked about here. And then we got our U.S. birth chart. Yep. So we got the Sibley chart.
That's the U.S. Exactly. Yeah.
So we talked about this one already.
But you know what? Something that might also be interesting to look at.
What's that? What now?
I just had some sound. I don't know. So when we look at we always go straight for the planets and everything, but we can go more fundamental as well. And what do we learn, Latricia? What do we learn about the quadrant? What is
about what?
When we look at it, when we learn how to read charts, we do learn about the hemispheres. We learn about
we learn about patterns.
Exactly.
Chart patterns.
Exactly, chart patterns. Basically, what could we talk about in relationship to the first, second, third, and fourth quadrant? What happens in those quadrants?
Oh, in this case, a lot of the planets are sitting in the third quadrant.
Exactly.
And if I'm remembering correctly, this is definitely having to do with others. And it's more expressive. So a lot of the things that we do with other people is going to be seen on the outside. So tends to be more public.
So that's why I was saying let's try to go through 1 through 4. So when
Okay.
we look at the fourth quadrant, what is it that we're looking at? So if somebody has a lot of planets in the first quadrant, and
Well,
this,
hold
by the
on.
way,
We got to
people,
define what
again,
the first quadrant is, which is
yeah,
houses 1, 2, and 3.
exactly, 1 through 3. So 1, 2, and 3. This is the
Mm-hmm.
first quadrant, right? The 12
Yes.
divided by 4. So we have 1, 2, and 3 houses. And when we do this, so by the way, again, we do macro and microscopic. So for the
Mm-hmm.
person, it is one thing. For a country, it's
It's
similar,
something
not
else.
exactly the same. Yes.
Yeah.
So the first quadrant is about what?
So
Yourself.
yeah, it's about yourself. It's more the internal, like you and I kind of like to look at it as you and how you think or how you grow.
Yes, and your values, what is
Mm-hmm.
important to you, right? How you establish yourself as a material entity in the world. Yes,
Yeah.
how you interact with your direct environment, like your young age environment, usually
Mm-hmm.
family, kindergarten people, these kinds of situations. And
Yeah.
then what happens when we get into the second quadrant?
So when we get into the second quadrant, we're still kind of learning about ourselves, but we're kind of moving into that where we're starting to interact with more people outside of the family. We're starting to get outside into the world.
Exactly. So what happens is in the fourth house, we become much more invested in our identity, right? The fourth
Mm-hmm.
house is our core identity. And then we want to express this identity to the rest of the world. Like, imagine again you're a child and you realize that, oh, my identity is that I love to do horse riding, right? Horseback riding.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I want to do a horseback rider and become part of a club or something like that, or be a ballerina or be a, I don't know, you name it. But the fifth house is the creative expression. And that usually then comes, you want to express the identity that you are, and you want to do that in the sixth house in a way that provides a service to your fellow man. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the second quadrant, when people have a very strong placement of planets and country, probably the same thing. When you have a strong placement in the second quadrant, it's all about the identity and how to express that identity in a useful way to the other. Because now
Mm-hmm.
we have switched from the I am to the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the houses 4, 5, and 6. Now the houses 7, 8, and 9 are, Latricia.
That is where we're just talking about where we are outside and we're also
Mhm.
thinking in relating to others. So our thoughts tend to be more expressive. We tend to have more interaction. So think about house 7, that is you with your partners. House 8 is how you deal with other people and their resources. House 9 is how do you deal with things that kind of make you take you out of yourself when it comes to what you think or your faith in a way.
Also, also creating systems out of what you have
Ah,
created. The ninth house is systems as well, right?
okay.
So basically, something that you now have ready, so you can disseminate it to a larger world, not just to the
Yeah.
individual by themselves, the one-to-one, but actually you're creating systems that are carrying. Like a university system or a judicial system, a philosophical or religious system, etc. So you're putting the values, and you basically what happened in the seventh through the eighth house is you interacted with other people and you learned their understanding, their way of thinking about it, and maybe adding or adjusting to their way of looking at things. So this is the shared resources and looking at other people's values and basically bringing all that together, going into the ninth house, creating, like we just said, creating systems and things out of it. So with the US being very strongly, obviously almost all planets, save the Saturn and Moon, are
Mhm.
within
Saturn,
the.
Moon, and Pluto. Those are the only
No,
ones that aren't in that quadrant.
yes. So, but everything else is in the third quadrant. So basically, if you look at that, it seems that the US really wants to interact with the rest of the world,
Hmm.
understand the rest of the world, create kind of like systems that work for everybody, right? And
Hmm.
then basically have something as a result that is the, I don't know, the ideal, the ideal world. And then being of course, hello, it's a Sagittarius rising with Jupiter, and Jupiter is part of this conglomerate. So
Yeah.
yes, you want to disseminate, you want to proselytize, you want to be the missionary, explain
Yeah.
to everybody why your system is the best, how you're living the dream, how
Why we
everything
are
is
number one.
amazing.
The US is very
Exactly.
much about the group thing.
Exactly. So, and then you go into the, like you cross the MC, and then that's the fourth quadrant. Here you go back to the individual, but through the collective, right?
Yeah.
You have the 10th, 11th, and 12th houses. And what do we learn about that, Latricia?
We are trying to relate to things in terms of if we're looking at it from the 12th house, what we give, 11th house, who we give it to. And I like to think of the 10th house is the method of the giving, because that is our career and our ambition.
Yep. And basically, when we talk about the 12th house, we also talk about the collective. So we now approach, basically having been through the different stages, we're approaching back the individual me through the collective, though, right? So I'm basically, the 10th to 11th is, how do I bring myself in on a career level, on a work level, on a status level, that I do something responsible for the community? I want to then also have a future-oriented presence in the 11th house, integrating typically groups, organizations, some form of future-oriented thinking, etc. And then again, that goes into the 12th house, which is setting the stage also in a cycle kind of way.
Yeah, we're preparing to go back through it all over again.
Exactly. Yep. So, and that's kind of like closing the circle. Yep. So it's always very interesting to look at astrology from many different aspects. And sometimes you don't have to go for the individual planet and go like, oh my God, I don't know. It's so confusing. So many planets, so many things to look at. Believe everybody who's been in astrology for some time knows it takes time to really get to the point where you can really get into making smart, I mean, every once in a while you see something, go like, oh, I see that, but getting the overview,
like being able to pick out the one thing, but also being able to see it from the microscopic to the macroscopic, and even by then the mega or the metascopic is what takes time. So
exactly,
if any of this went over your head, that's okay. Just catch a recording, rewatch it again, watch it 2 or 3 times if you need to. But go ahead.
And everybody's always welcome to leave messages and leave comments, of course. And if we see them, we will obviously try to respond with the best of our knowledge.
Yes.
As far as getting readings, you can always send an email to info@astromegistus.com. At the moment, the website is a little bit wobbly. So if somebody would like to have a reading, you can, again, please send an email, and obviously somebody will get back to you within 24 hours. We do appreciate your time and listening to us. And of course, Latricia, as always, thank you very much for putting this material together. You're a gem.
Yes, and thanks for having us, Jay.
Hey, it's a pleasure. With all the madness that is going on, it's still a pleasure.
Yes, we're still here. Listen, we are more than halfway through Mercury retrograde?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're almost there. We're almost there. We're just gonna put up a couple prayers. We're gonna do some rain dances. We're gonna give some offerings. We're gonna be back next week, everybody. So stay with us, and we will see you then. Until then, take care, everybody. Have a great day, night, wherever you are, and we'll see you later.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Yes. Latricia said everything. I don't need to add to it. All right. Bye-bye. It's true.